My cheap boyfriend decided he doesn't have to pay his half of the rent anymore and all the money he makes is his, but the little money I make goes to all our living expenses. My boyfriend and I met when I was 19 in my sophomore year of college and he was 26. I was a full-time student so I didn't have a job and this has caused a lot of resentment issues with my boyfriend. When we first started seeing each other more, I would spend a lot of time at his apartment. Even though I couldn't help him out financially, since he had a job at the time, I helped where I could, buy lunch, coffee, help clean his apartment, and I had a monthly stipend I could spend in the university store so I'd use that to help him out with groceries. I think I did my fair share at the time. I graduated last May but I started working part-time when I was 21. It wasn't much at the time, but it was all I could do. However, my boyfriend feels that because I wasn't working for the first 2 years of our relationship and I am now, he shouldn't have to pay for anything for a while. He thinks the financial situation should balance out. He hasn't even had a steady job in months. He hops around jobs a lot, meaning he'll be a bartender for a while, then get bored of that, so he will work in retail or food for a few months, and go back to bartending. He seems to have a new job every 6 to 7 months. He's able to find work easily because he's so charismatic, but he'll eventually get bored and will want to do something different. Now that we're living together, he no longer pays his half of the rent. But not paying rent wasn't enough to balance things out for him so, he only buys groceries for us once or twice a month, which is usually just milk, beer and steaks. This has been going on for about 4 months now, or about $2,000 in rent. I can barely afford this so I took a second job helping an old professor out. She's paying me very well and it's helping me make ends meet. But the situation gets worse. Not only is he not paying for anything, all the cleaning, cooking, apartment maintenance, driving, planning, date nights, etc. all fall on me. This makes me feel like I'm both the girlfriend and the boyfriend, because I do everything. But I also feel like his mom because he makes a mess of the apartment, leaving trash on the ground, not cleaning up his spills on the counter, leaving dirty dishes out, and I end up cleaning it up. At first, it was just me keeping the apartment clean, but now it feels like such a chore because he never does it. I usually ask him to clean it up, but I've waited up to 7 days before I relent and can't stand the sight of the mess he's made, and then clean it up myself. Just a few weeks ago, he spilled a large amount of syrup on the kitchen counter, didn't clean it up, and it sat there for about a week. It was incredibly sticky, gross, and attracted tons of bugs, but even after all that, he still didn't clean it up. I even laid out a sponge and some cleaning spray next to it. Eventually, I got sick and tired of it, and cleaned it up myself, like usual. I'll ask him to do simple chores while I'm out at work, like take the garbage out. It's a 2-minute walk to the dumpster in our apartment, and he'll agree to do it. But when I come home from work, it will still be there. I asked him to take it out the next day and he said he'll do it, but he doesn't and then he gets angry when I tell him yet again. This keeps up until the garbage is fucking disgusting, it's leaking and smells bad. I have asthma and garbage fumes can sometimes make me wheeze, so I end up having to take out the garbage even though he agreed multiple times to do it. There was even one time where the garbage pile grew to about 3 bags, it smelled terrible, everything was leaking, and it was probably a hazard. When we're not fighting over the garbage, we're fighting over the thermostat. Sometimes I think he purposely does things to make the bills higher than they should be. We've been having weird weather in my region, so it's been going back and forth from cold to warm. He's turning the AC to low temperatures when it's warm, and turning the heat way up when it's cold. I'll ask him, repeatedly, to keep the thermostat at a reasonable temp to save money and he acts like I'm giving him such an impossible task. He usually responds by saying that our bills are never that high and he wants to be comfortable temperature-wise, which is apparently either Arctic or magma. He'll also take advantage of my kindness. Money is tight right now, but I still want to go outside and try to frugally have fun. I tried planning a date night for Valentine's Day at a chain restaurant within walking distance of our apartment. I told him that we can go out, but only if we just stick to an appetizer or an entree under $12, and only have 1 or 2 of the beer special that night. He ended up complaining that it should be more romantic, we should have gone to a nicer place, that we shouldn't have to stick to such a low-value venue. I said I was sorry, but I couldn't afford anything nice, because of him. He ends up getting an appetizer, the most expensive entree, several top-shelf lits and a dessert. I just had an appetizer and 1 beer. When the check came, it was more than I could afford. I asked him to help out, he gave me about $20 and told me I had to get the rest. I used the little cash I had on me and my card to pay for it all. Every time I bring up the money issue he always goes back to the point that when we first started to date he paid for almost everything and that it's only fair that he doesn't have to pay for anything now. Is this right? I know he did pay for a lot the first 2 years we were together, but that didn't include him paying for my rent, utilities, groceries, etc. and at the time, I was a college student. Now I'm 23 and he's 30 so he can't be basing these financial decisions on a period of time where I was a broke college student and he was a working adult. He's even lied about smoking in the bathroom even though all the evidence points to him smoking in there. He knows I'm an asthmatic so it's now hard for me to breathe in the bathroom. Instead of owning up to his addiction, he gaslights me into thinking that the bathroom walls have always been painted a light yellow, they weren't. The straw that broke the camel's back was our most recent argument. We were talking about our future wedding because two friends of mine got married a few months ago. We started to talk about how nice their wedding was and how they were able to pay for it. He told me, the bride's parents traditionally pay for everything. The comment blew me away. I responded with, that may be traditional, but it's not common anymore. My parents can't afford a wedding. My friends paid for most of their wedding, and their parents chipped in. He got mad at this statement and said his mom isn't going to pay for our wedding, and that the cost should be on my and my parents' shoulders to bear. He's always bringing up the fact he paid for everything when we started dating, but I feel like it's balanced now. He's been living for free, eating for free, using water and electricity for free, hasn't had to drive us anywhere, and he's had my free maid service and chef service for 4 months now. Everything was great before he decided to hold this financial crap over my head like this. We rarely fought until he felt the need to not pay for anything. And it's not like he's unemployed so he physically cannot pay for anything. I've literally visited him multiple times while he's working. I felt emotionally drained and physically exhausted since all of this has happened. Edit, I'm going to plan an escape, so to speak. I feel that simply saying we're done to him won't work. I've already talked to my parents and they've agreed to let me live with them for a while. This isn't ideal, but it will allow me to save up money. I lied to my future ex-boyfriend about why I'm going to stay with my parents because I'm afraid that if he knew the real reason he wouldn't let me leave.